regular meeting of the Great Barrington Historic District Commission, and pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's June revised order extending remote participation by all members in a meeting of a public body, the meeting of the Great Barrington Historic Commission will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. And the instructions of that are on the meeting agenda posted. Also pursuant to Mass General Laws, 30A, Chapter 7, 30A, Section 20I, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body and may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. Any member of any member of the public wishing to speak at a meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of the agenda items are therefore reasonably anticipated by the chair and may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up after for discussion by the extent permitted by law. Ooh. Next item is that we have the minutes for 4 meetings, November 18th, December 16th, February 17th, and March 17th, regular meetings. That everyone should have had the PDFs of those distributed. And is there any comments or on any of those meetings? Revisions, notes? Oh, or I'm sorry, I got to go back. I need to do a roll call. Marilyn.
Here.
Abby.
Here.
Fred.
Here.
Jim.
Here.
In the chair. And the order I'm doing that is the way you're appearing on my screen here.
And we have 10 attendees in addition to the 5 board members.
Okay. Now going back to the meeting notes. Any comments on those? If not, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Abby?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was you. Second?
I'll second.
Marilyn?
Yep.
Great. Roll call vote to approve. Marilyn?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next coming up is the public hearing on the agenda, and that is for the W.E.B. Du Bois Sculpture and Plaza Project at Mason Library. We have a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Who seconded?
Abby.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're coming. I'm not hearing the difference between you and Marilyn tonight. I'm sorry.
We'll work on that.
Okay,
No, we'll adopt each
I'm
other.
looking up. I can't see the person talking. Roll call vote to open the public hearing. Marilyn?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I'm assuming that Bobby Houston would be presenting tonight to us. Jim, do you need to bring him up as a panelist, or is he already here?
I just elevated him to panelist.
Okay.
Unmute, start video. Hi, everybody. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I am joined here with Julie Michaels, who's actually the point person on this project. And so with all due respect, perhaps we can let Julie step into the front. Julie, can you raise your hand, Julie? To the bottom of your screen.
Just unmute yourself, Julie.
Can you see me now?
Yes.
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 On the big screen, I just see this historic commission agenda. Is that what everybody's seeing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. You should all have the documents I presented to the committee. Is that correct?
They have seen electronic versions of them, yes.
Would you like me to, in terms of the presentation, would you like me to tell you again what the goal is and what our, or you have those documents, is that correct? And that tells you what we're proposing. I think we dotted all the I's. Is there something you need me to talk about that is not in that proposal, or you just want me to start from scratch? I'm sorry to be so ignorant, but
You're not the only one.
okay. I don't know what the committee wants to hear.
I'm assuming that we could get up the electronic documents so that we are reviewing the same things. Now, I know that I think Jim has a copy of it, or I may have them too.
I think that's important.
Yeah. So we're going to have to.
This could be very impressive.
It already is.
Don't look, anybody.
Okay.
You too.
Boys Memorial. One down.
There. Du Bois up one.
Yeah,
Oh, great.
very good. And that is a PDF of all the architect's renderings.
Great. Look at that.
Bravo. So anyway, when we first approached the Historic District Commission, Don suggested to us that we be in touch with the original architect of the front of the Mason Library. We did that. He gave us his schematics, and then we asked our architect, who I think is on the call today, Grigory Fateyev, to do some drawings so that we could show you what our proposal was. It incorporates what is already there, the disability walkway, which we would never change. The steps as they exist now are in quite a bit of disrepair, and I've heard from the town manager that there are plans to fix them. So we may work with the town, we may help the town, we're talking to them about it, but the steps have to be fixed. And our biggest change would be putting in these two benches, because what we're trying to do, in addition to honor Du Bois, is to create a more accessible meeting space. There's some space on the main street of town where community can gather. They might, it was very interesting. We were there last week with the architect, and there were children meeting in front of the library to have a story day, and there was no place for them to sit. No place. I mean, it was an awkward situation because they were having it outside because of COVID. So the idea is to create these benches that the public can sit on. Maybe you could have a poetry reading there or a meeting of some sort. We also want to level the area there so that there could be tables to be used in some kind of event. We've already spoken to a stonemason, Vern Tower, who has in his possession antique Sheffield marble, the same marble that was used for the Washington Monument, and he's been looking for a project to use it on, and he is very keen to make these benches out of this Sheffield marble, and it answers our desire to have as much of this locally created as we can. Our proposal at the moment is to have a seated Du Bois on this bench. Now, you can't see him very well in this because the architect was more interested in other things, but the darker figure, that brown figure, is Du Bois. I don't think the proportions or the pose is right. He was just showing that that there would be this bronze sculpture on the bench, and people could come and sit next to him. The children could ask their parents who he was. There could be discussion about that. We've talked about, you'll notice there are different lights. The lights at the library now are non-functional. So Grigori has proposed functional lights. And we have not yet decided whether to keep that space in front of the library as grass or put in some kind of more permanent. That is something we will talk to the library about and talk to the town about maintenance.
And we can talk about that tonight as well. It's a conversation.
Yeah,
Sure.
But the basic schemata is there, and it is to scale. And our architect has worked very hard to make it to scale. The idea of how we're doing this, that bench acts as a, what do you call that, Bobby?
Retaining?
Retaining. It acts as a retaining wall.
Yeah, and the proportions of the seat, the actual comfort level of the bench is a duplicate of the benches that sit in front of Town Hall.
Yeah. So that's our proposal. We do not have a sculptor yet. We need to get over a couple hurdles here. We needed to meet with the Historic District Commission, and then we have to meet with the Select Board. We do have a board. We do have our 501c3 status. We can start collecting donations, but I won't do that, or we won't do that until we have the buy-in of the Select Board. And that's our goal. And I guess the reason we're in front of you is to find out if we qualify for a certificate of appropriateness. So the question to you is, do we?
Just for clarity, Julie, so to the left and to the right of the staircase, you're looking to put benches inside?
There is a bench there. It's one big bench on either side. You see, that goes with the curve. That's what we're proposing.
Yeah.
Then on the far left, it would be where Du Bois, the bronze statue of Du Bois.
Yes. Yes. And as I say, I don't think that's what you see there is not representative, because our architect was trying to render the larger gestalt of it, not for the statue itself, but that is our goal. He put in this proposal, this is the bench in front of the town hall, number one. Number two is the marble arena that he worked on with Vern at Turn Park. That's rougher than what we're proposing, because we're proposing a bench really much more like number one. Number four is a kind of banister we would put in. It's a much more modern banister. The problem with the banister there now is that it is actually destroying the stairs. So one has to come up with something that doesn't do that.
It's
And then
rusting. It's rusting and oxidizing the marble.
Yeah. And then you
So-
see the lighting that he proposes.
Yeah, it's surprising the degree to which the stairs now are in disrepair. They're really actually crumbling apart.
Now, what you see in front of you are the models that have been on display in the library. These were done by Dai Bon, a local sculptor, to give you a sense of what this would look like. It's not what will be, but it's very much similar to what we're anticipating. So that would give you a sense of that.
Yeah. So let's hear from the commission.
So I have a question. This is Fred. I have a question about the lighting.
Yeah, good.
Or do we want to discuss this in our discussion, Fred, or whatever? Yeah, but go ahead. Whichever, because we're going to close the hearing at some point and go into discussion about it too. So.
I wanted to understand the scope of what is proposed for lighting.
Sure.
Well, there are right now, if you recall the last time you walked by the library, there are sort of tall stanchions there. One of them is broken. I don't think any of them work at this point. The lighting would be lighting the walkway, and there might be some lighting under the bench. We've talked about that. I can't remember what you call it, Bobby.
Cove lighting?
Yeah, something that would illuminate the footfall under the bench.
Mhm.
But that's the lighting is what you see in those little L's.
And Fred, from what I can see, the lighting that's proposed is sort of code and night sky or dark sky compliant. It's the kind of quiet architectural lighting that's being used now to meet code and to meet sort of requirements.
But the lighting is just on the two arcing ramps and not on the stairs. Is that correct?
There are no lights on the stairs now, so
It
could
looks
say-
Why
like,
would you? There are no light. Well, I don't know that there are lights on the ramp now, are there?
Yes,
There
but they're
are
broken. They're broken.
it looks
So
like
we
you're
could
putting in
cons-
14 lights, correct? 7 on each side?
Yes.
Yes.
So Fred, we could talk about lighting the stairs, of course.
I think that's necessary.
It seems to me that you're making a choice to do one and not the other.
I think it wasn't really
We
hashed out. These are schematics and we're getting
We were making, yeah.
in gear.
This is a proposal, is it not?
Well, yeah, I mean, if there is,
Are
we were trying to
looking at
replicate
something
the
that's-
lighting, excuse me, we were trying to replicate the lighting as it exists now. In other words, where those lights are replacing the light that is there now. If for code reasons we have to light the stairs, we will light the stairs. We're not trying not to light the stairs. We would just.
Fred,
it's done.
Fred, would you like to hear from Grigori, who's in the audience?
May I ask another question about the lighting before we hear from him?
Sure.
Yeah.
The lights obviously only light the walkway. They do not light where the statue is placed.
Right.
So we are telling people, don't go in the seating area in the evening. Is that what we're saying?
No,
By not lighting it up?
In other words, is there any area lighting?
We're not lighting the area, and I think that that's a mistake for the town, for the look of the entire place. I mean, lighting up the walkway is okay, you have to do that, but we don't have to do it that way without showing the beautiful marble seating area and the statue that we're putting up.
Yeah,
I think-
I have another question, and that is these little L-shaped brackets that are along the lighting. I think Jim said there were 7 on a side. Here, in this view that we're looking at now, they're out of scale. In the view we just had, they look like they might be, I don't know, 18 inches high. I guess the question is, what is the height of them? And
You would have to bring Gregorian on that. If he's, I think he's in the audience, so you would have to.
If that's the case, they're easy to trip over
easy to vandalize.
and vandalize. Well, I was hoping we'd run out of vandals. And I think it's necessary to light the stairway. If you're making this an area for people to enjoy, then you need to give them something that they can see with. And
We're
stairs
happy
are
to
very
do that.
important.
We're happy to do that.
And where is the figure? The placement of the figure is rather important, in that when it was first presented to us, he was under the tree, which meant that every bird that sat over him would use him.
Well, he's no longer under the tree.
You mean where he is where you intend him to be?
We certainly intend him to be on the bench. I think probably somewhere toward the middle of the bench is where he would be. Yes.
I have to say the figure is brilliant. Everywhere where we've seen such a thing, you know, for instance, there's a Red Auerbach life-size sculpture at Faneuil Hall, and the knee is completely rubbed off, and all of this kind of thing. And people love sitting down and using it as a photo opportunity. I think it's brilliant. I think it's very engaging. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Thank you so much. That's great to hear.
I agree.
Thank you, guys. That's great.
And what we would like to do on this particular occasion is we would be happy to redesign the lighting to work with the town, the library, whomever. I think that we're not set on this. This is, and I understand what Abby's saying, but what I would like to get from you is a certificate of appropriateness so we can move on. We've sort of been stuck here for several months, and we cannot go to the select board until we get that certificate. So if we have to go and fix our lighting, et cetera, et cetera.
I'd like to just jump in with the lighting right now, and also the handrails, a comment. As far as I know, I'm sorry. We have some existing historic elements there now. The bollard lights that are there now and the handrails that are there now are the existing handrails that were moved from the library, plus some extensions added. Those are, according to the standards, historic, and they shouldn't be removed by the Secretary of the Interior standards. And I have had I've also heard different comments about the steps too, and the condition of those. I would think that it is mandatory for the town to repair the steps. And I don't know, I've also heard some comments that it isn't in as bad a shape foundation-wise as has been thought. But I think the town should also be repairing the lights that are there. And there is some degree of they exist, and you're removing something that is become historic to the building. And the standards, Secretary of the Interior standards, that's not the typical thing that you can do when we're doing work like this. That's nothing to do with the statute. That's nothing to do with the benches. That's just the elements are there, and to remove those for a whim because somebody's aesthetic today doesn't like them, I don't think that's appropriate. And I'm clearly feel that way. So
can I say that Gregory Fediev has put a comment in the question and answer. It reads, light for the stair will be in the TGHE railing. In other words, it will be embedded underneath the railing. It's an indirect lighting system where it's underneath the railing that shines down directly on the stairs.
Would you like Grigori to be included in this conversation because he might be able to answer some of those questions? I can.
Actually, Julie, he has been elevated and he can speak.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm,
Want to go ahead?
can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So I'd like to address a couple questions that come up. So, the lighting the stairs. Yes, the light, it's going to be LED tape that's going to be installed underneath the railing, and there's a railing sweeping above the steps. It would illuminate the steps from both sides. So that would solve that problem. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about, so the conditions of the stairs, after looking at it several times, they're in a terrible shape. I mean, they're themselves are deteriorating because of the actual railing that's installed in them. And the railing is staining them and rotting them up and allowing the water to get inside of marble and crack it. So they're falling apart, the steps. They also originally were much shorter flight of steps leading to the building. So ADA concerns were not obviously, American with Disabilities Act was not a really concern back when the day our library was built. So the stairs would come up only about 6 inches below the thresholds of the building. And so the actual risers of the steps are too short for the height that they need to get to. And so that's also contributes to deterioration because they need to be sitting on what now is almost inch and a half of grout. And that grout is also falling apart. It contributes to the stairs being out of level and basically one giant trip hazard. So, so there's that problem that's sort of fundamental in the design that was done in whatever 90s or 2000s when the ramp was built, but also just poor maintenance, and over the years it just resulted in a lot of salt application to the steps, which is also not helping with their conditions. So they need to be rebuilt, and we need to somehow address within that rebuilding. And I think once we have a kind of permission to go through this project, we can, really fine-tune details and present them. But something needs to be done about the risers being adjusted to the height of what now is the top of the ramp, top of the landing.
I'm sorry.
Just wanted to reiterate that the marble of the steps is a local marble with, particular, like
those
19th century
existing
kind
stairs-
pattern, and what the goal is to meet the same standard while doing the benches. So that we want to use the marble that doesn't stick out. Yep. Sorry.
The stairs that are there now were moved approximately 6 or 7 feet out from the building. They also
And raised.
supposedly
And raised.
the existing stair. They could have been
They
raised.
are.
Too,
They-
yet. Stepped down.
So it's hard to quite grasp what happened, but because the ADA asks for a sizable landing flush with the arrival or the height of the floor, the stairs were asked to climb an extra rise that we didn't have historically. They have to get up higher than they did. They used to just meet at the sill and then step into the building. So the stairs have been filled up. They've actually been floated on grout to create an extra rise. And that grout is now soft as sand. It really is basically in disrepair.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm not disagreeing. Wait, I'm not disagreeing that the steps are in disrepair and should be repaired by the town, as well as the lighting, the existing bollard lights that are there should be repaired by the town and kept up. And they
But
may
the
not be
lighting is what's
operating because
historic.
somebody may not be switching them on. Who knows? But I'm just, as far as I'm going by memory, that the steps that were moved out were basically a rebuild of those on a new foundation, but they were the existing materials moved out, as well as the railings, I thought.
That's
Mr.
correct.
Chairman, Mr.
they are
Chairman,
Railings that
can I
are there
just ask a
now.
point of order? What is the proposal that we're looking at right now? Does it include the steps? Does it include the lighting? what are they actually proposing for a certificate of appropriateness? I'm unclear as to what the scope is.
It
It
doesn't,
would
doesn't
be-
seem to be enough information.
Oh, no, there's plenty of information. We were asked to show you, we were asked to show you a design. What we are suggesting to you is the steps as they exist now are falling apart, and the town has plans to replace them. We've spoken to the town manager, and one of our discussions was that they would work to replace the stairs as we're putting in the benches. So they would use the marble that is there, but to say that you have to use the marble that is there and make no changes is to say that you are going to reinstall steps that will fall apart again. So
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Well,
That's really bogus. But that's
have you
just-
seen the
As
stairs?
an architect and chairman of the committee, I have to challenge that. And from what I know, the history of the steps,
can we
I
go
was
to
involved in the building committee of Mason Library where they moved out.
can we go to
Can
the
I-
slide view that's been presented? There we have it. Section. Let's stick with section at seat with new handrail. The scope of our project is the benches, the plaza, and then we would happily expand scope to include area lighting, which sounds like that would probably be something that the town would actually, or town and library would have some opinions about.
So,
But our scope is the benches, the sculpture, and the plaza.
and that's
Well,
what I think we should
Talking
focus
about the plaza, if I may, you know, what this indicates is that any handicapped people have to take the long way around, but there's no railing all the way around.
It's actually because the railing not required for that. The slope of the ramp is shallow enough that it doesn't require, by Massachusetts law, it doesn't require the railing.
In the code, it's called a sidewalk.
Yes, essentially, it's a sloped sidewalk, not a ramp. Yeah, correct.
A question, are you looking to replace the sidewalks that are there?
No,
No,
Okay.
No, we're
we're
working
just
with them.
planning to add the bench on the new concrete foundation and replace the lawn in front of inside of that oval with the pavement or grass. We still have to kind of like, that's one part, the clear paving, grass, some sort of level surface that people could congregate on, and then still maintain a band of planting between the ramp and the plaza.
Okay.
And just if I may, a little bit about the lighting. In addition to the proposed simplified lighting on the ramp, which again could or could not be in our scope, we're also thinking about putting LED tape underneath this seat, lighting up the ground in front of the bench. So that will help with people with trip hazard, and also it creates a shielded light. With lighting the sculpture would be a bit of a tricky point, because lighting it would be without the pole in front of it. You would kind of be relying on lighting it from the bottom, which goes against the dark sky regulations. So unfortunately, without putting like a lamp over his head, it would be really hard to actually light the sculpture. But I think there'll be enough ambient light between the lights along the path of the ramp and the lights at the stairs and the lights spilling from underneath the seat. There should be enough ambient light to illuminate the sculpture itself and create kind of a welcoming space.
So the lights that you're looking to install are about 18 inches high, is that correct?
They are, and the reason for that is actually very specific. First of all, the lights there currently, they're not historic. They were put in back in, when the library was renovated. There's nothing historic about them or traditional even. They're too tall to serve the purpose because the source of light is about 42 inches above the surface you want to light. So you're basically lighting everything else but the place you want to put the light on. And that's why I'm kind of suggesting to use something that's less, something nondescript that's really just, stays close to the surface of the ground you want to illuminate, because that's where you want the light to be. And those are LED lights, very low power, both consuming power, but also the bright lights. You don't need a lot of foot candles to make it safe.
I just
And
had,
if I may, one more point I want to make about the railing. We could go and I can walk the committee through the problems with the way the railing is installed now. And unfortunately, I see two issues with the railing. First of all, it is contributing to deterioration of the stairs. But another issue is that it's actually not safe from the handicap point of view. In other words, the railing is, historic. So it was done in, early 1900s. And it didn't take into consideration how people actually use railing when they're walking up and down the stairs. So the railing that I'm proposing here in this drawing is laid out to regulation of ABA, in Boston, and the American Disabilities ADA, so that you can hold on to it before you start walking up the stairs, and then you're holding on to it as you're walking the stairs where your path of travel is. The current railing, as beautiful as it is, actually follows the curvature of the stairs and takes you away from the stair before you engage it. So in my understanding of historic regulations is that you want a contemporary element to stand out almost opposite the historic element. In other words, if there's a historic stairs we're focusing on, they need to be celebrated as historic stairs. If there's an element that's a contemporary railing that provides the safety, that element should be done contemporary so that people can clearly see the difference between the two. So there's no muddiness between, contemporary lighting and traditional historic element. Anyway, so that was kind of like my comment on the railing. Otherwise, I would have happily kept the existing railing in place. Because
Okay, just a follow up to that statement.
Mhm.
Is there any reason why the existing original railings cannot remain, and you just add this single handrail functioning for people, so that this could be an addition?
That's actually a very interesting solution. The only reason is I would investigate the existing railing on how it contributes to the deterioration of a stair itself. But other than that, yes, you can have them both. It will be a little bit busy and cluttered. The stairs are not that big. But it's doable like that too. Yeah. And I think I want to, second Bobby on the fact that, so, lighting and railing was some elements that we thought would benefit the space and enhance it. But our focus these days right now is on the bench itself and the plaza and the whole idea of the plaza and the bench and the monument in front of the library. How and what portions of a stair and the ramp and the lighting would be remodeled. I think it's
so Don, your suggestion, your idea was perhaps to have a modern minimal center lighting element going up the stairs, and the historic railings remain left and right.
Yeah, having a straight coming down the stairs, it could be a lit rail.
Yes.
Rail.
Yeah,
that sounds workable to me. That sounds like that
sounds really good. Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming that would be. There's also another part of this is that the town has to say they want to allow this work to happen too. Removing the lights and all that. I mean, it has to come from them to us to some degree.
We've sat with Mark.
Well, I mean, it's part of. And I've talked with Mark Prohansky, and I'm aware of the various things when we had a DPW person here. I know certain things, but still officially has to come before us. Somebody has to say we're doing that work, not just you, because the town has to do it. You're not doing this for the town today, are you? You're not saying that we're paying for all of this.
Well, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem, because without the understanding from historic that this is an appropriate project, we have no basis to go to town.
I don't see that. I see that you can separate your bench and sculpture and plaza from the existing ramp, the existing stairs, and the existing lighting. I don't see a chicken and egg problem.
Oh, I was referring to the fact that we need to go to town before we come back to you.
The town needs to come to us.
We can give you a temporary certificate of appropriateness, I believe.
What they want to do with those elements.
So,
That's-
You know,
Don,
we could- what I'm hearing
Chairman,
is,
I think that we need to focus on what's in front of us, and evaluate that, and not get sidetracked on some of these other things that aren't included in the scope. And I want to make sure that we understand what is in front of us, what they are proposing. While it might be nice to change the lighting, I don't believe that this project includes that. And while it might be nice to rebuild the stairs and perhaps add or change the railing, I'm not sure that this project includes that as conditional. It seems to me that the bench and plaza and sculpture could be installed as a freestanding project, and that is the entire scope of this proposal. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Furthermore, if you were to propose the railing changes and propose the lighting changes, I don't think we could act on it tonight because I don't think that we have adequate information. So I would encourage you to focus just on what you're looking for and not expand beyond that scope that you yourselves would be proposing.
That's fine. That sounds good.
But doesn't that leave us with the town a lot to do without any plan?
Yes.
Well,
yeah,
I think
but it's
that's-
the town's
that's-
issue, it's town property and stuff. Well, we'd have
Yeah,
to
but-
let the town come up with their proposal. And they're gonna have to concur that they want to rebuild those steps and replace the lights. And Rich, in determining that cost or doing it, who's paying for it? Might be
But I think all
separate
of that is tied together.
Well, this group can advise them on what they think is appropriate.
That sounds good.
We have had those meetings with them already. They are certainly aware of this. And as I say, according to the town manager, they have budgeted for this year, or I guess they're putting in the budget this year for next year, the replacing of the steps. And they would have to come to you, I guess, and tell you what they're going to do. Yes.
yes.
Correct.
But
Okay.
they would be, in essence, the same size and placement. It would just be how they are going to repair them so that they function better. So
Right.
we could work within
You're
that.
they're not just repairing it. You're asking for a total redo of these, renovation to them or updating or whatever. So
No, we're not. We're
yes,
just
you are. You're removing the handrails and you're removing the lighting in there. Those, you're taking out elements that aren't historic, but they are existing and, have been put in there. You're taking those out now. That's up to the
But-
town to say they want to do that and us to react to too.
right. But are you saying that, just out of curiosity, are you saying that lights that were put in 10 years ago are historic now?
They're they're there on the property, therefore they become part of the character of the building. Just like the
Well-
addition isn't historic, that they did to the back of it, the library, but it is part of the complex now and it's dealt with.
I think at
suggest that
this
we-
point, we have to just keep focused on the sculpture and the benches and break that into two phases. Because we
Yes.
really don't have enough information on the lighting
And the plaza.
and the
Right.
plaza.
And the plaza is right, because
Those
I'm not
items.
sure whether you're proposing, what your base proposal is grass or whether it's some sort of stone pavers. One of your renderings showed extensive, like this one at the bottom, shown now, showed stone pavers. And, you have to understand that if you are proposing grass but change in the future, you need to come back to us for an appropriate change, a review for the appropriateness of the change.
That would be fine. I think what we will stipulate for the moment is grass. And if we find that we want to replace that and put in some kind of harder surface, we will come back to you. But we need, I'm just saying why I'm so eager for some certificate of appropriateness is if we don't get one, we cannot move ahead to the town and we cannot ask people to raise money for this project because it will not exist. So that's why I'm eager that you delineate what you agree with and let us move forward.
It sounds like we're all agreed that this will be a two-phase process. The town will pick up quite a bit of this lift, but we are proposing, our scope is benches, the memorial, and the leveling of the plaza for gathering.
One more question before we go into discuss this as a board. The dark green area, is that just grass or is that some sort of landscaping, low bushes or something?
That's landscaping.
Yeah.
So that's shrubbery of some sort?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
I just would like to follow up one comment on it too. I mean, I'm assuming that these are not the final drawings of the fabrication for the benches and things like that. So there's going to be some more drawings showing the foundations that would still come before us for approval to confirm. So there'd be the final drawings confirming what you're doing here.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tonight, and Aunt Julie's comment that this is not the final, there still would be a final submission from your group about the statue, the final statue, the final bench, the final details, an actual sample of the materials that you're doing, the Sheffield limestone, or we would need those samples for a submittal for an actual final approval. We're approving a concept tonight.
That's right.
One question on the benches. So that would be smooth marble like the benches in front of town hall?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
I mean, branches and town hall is granite, but it will be marble. It will be actually very similar to the steps themselves, kind of smooth, honed finish. Yep.
And they're what, two pieces, three pieces?
It's going to be a series of pieces, more than two. It's going to be what's shown on the drawing. You see the faint gray lines dividing them. So
Right.
I'm looking at about 7, 8 pieces per side. Each piece about 24 inches wide. 18 inches tall.
So each bench would be two pieces. You put a series of benches there to make the form. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's basically going to be, in order to construct the curve, we would need to make about 14 to 16 pieces, like a little benches out of marble. That's like maybe 42 inches long, and they will compose, that half the arc on each side of the
Right, to radius.
on each side of the steps.
So what would the sculpture be made out of? And the second question is, have you been in touch with the Du Bois Legacy Foundation?
The Du Bois Legacy Foundation is partnering with us. They were the original proponents of this when it originally came forward several years ago. So yes, we not only that, but Randy Weinstein is on our board. What was the other? Bronze is the material that we would use for the sculpture, and I think pointing out the Red Auerbach sculpture at Faneuil Hall is very good because our goal is to have something very similar that is welcoming, warm, sit by it, learn who this person is, read your book, et cetera, et cetera. It has to have a welcoming feel to it. And
just to confirm, is that full size?
Yes.
full size, yes.
Yeah. Life size.
So, and as you know, there's quite a collection of Du Bois books in the library, and I think there will be more in the future. So there's some relationship between the sculpture, of course, and what's inside the library. But as I say, if it's a temporary certificate of appropriateness that we can walk away from this meeting with, that would be very helpful. And we can then proceed to the select board and make this proposal to them. And once they agree to accept this, then we can raise funds for this. And there's a lot of enthusiasm in the community. We've had nothing but positive responses. There was a mock-up on display in the library, and we had comments from the community, and they were 100% positive. So I think that there is an eagerness to have this done.
Right.
I have one more question on the benches. Are they going to taper like the walkway does?
Yes.
So
They actually follow, they decline and taper with the contour.
okay,
And then they kind of tuck in at the end almost to a flat. But yes, they do.
Okay.
You're both talking about the back of the benches.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
a few years back in the town hall there, we redid the benches there. And one of the issues was they used the wrong mortar when they repaired them sometime in the 60s. So it was a pretty good expense, and we put the right mortar in, and it lasted pretty well. And I guess with getting back to these benches now, so the bases will be square, and then the seat in the back will be a separate piece. So those will be the two pieces of each section that goes in.
Yes.
Yeah, currently, actually, we're thinking we're going to pour the footing that's going to support the seating to about 6 inches above the ground. So it's going to be concrete footing, and then sitting on that footing is going to be the bench shape, kind of like the seat with the back, all made out of marble. So the only really visible element would be the marble seat itself, and the back of the seat. And underneath it, like in a kick space, that's going to be concrete with the potentially. That's where I'm thinking putting LED light, so you have kind of a low level LED light underneath the seat.
Yeah. Another question on the stairs. So the stairs that are there, I know they floated them on grout. Another way to do it would be similar to you just discussed with the bench there, is to actually pour a form for each of the steps and set the marble on top of that with just a thin layer of grout, not a floating, the thick amount which they had so many problems with. Likewise with the handrails, if you look at the town hall, this time around, they did a beautiful job setting those handrails in so they won't move and break the stairs up. And I think that could be done with the existing stairs that are there and reconfigured, and that done properly as well. And then if we say you were to keep the two original handrails on the left and right, and in the middle, put in the more modern handrail with the LED light, that would complement the light underneath the benches that taper out as well. So create a nice symmetry and highlight everything quite nicely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Fair
Agreed.
goal.
Are we set to close?
Overall, it's a very good project.
Thank you, Fred.
I make a
Chairman,
motion to close
can you
the public
entertain
hearing.
I'm sorry, Jim.
I said I make a motion to close.
Well, I just want to know if there's any public comment. You're controlling that at the moment. If someone is there who'd want to has a comment before we close the public hearing?
Anyone that'd like to comment, please raise your hand. I don't see any of the attendees raising their hands.
Great. So you made the motion, Jim, to close?
Yes.
I will
Second.
second.
Okay. Do a roll call. Marilyn,
Yeah.
Mitchell
Abby.
Michael Steinberg.
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Put it back up. I'm on a
There.
meeting.
votes aye. Okay, the public hearing is closed. And, you've already made, a number of us made comments already. I think one of my big issues is the plaza material. That's the one thing that bothers me, in that I don't think the grass is a great surface for having people walk on all the time and sitting on the benches. They're going to wear down the grass very quickly. And I'm not in love with having similar stone, huge white stone in there, because this is going to just make a big, massive statement, where if it was a different plaza, hard material, like a brick or something, for my mind, would be something that matches the library and takes it from becoming a big ellipse of white in there.
I'm concerned about having so much impervious surface. So I wonder if there's a hybrid where you could put hard surface near the bench, maybe a walkway path along the front, and then grass elsewhere. I think that there's a danger to paving the whole front yard of the library.
I'm going to focus on what the stairs and the benches, and leave the other things for another meeting.
Well, the plaza, I think, is important because that's what they've asked us to address. We're going to be addressing three things: the sculpture, the benches, and the plaza area.
I agree. I think that grass is a big mistake because it'll get ruined. It won't get cut properly. It'll turn brown in the winter and be ugly. And they have to think of something other than plain white or ordinary, something that's natural, even if it's stones, river stone, or something that's flat but has a character, because the rest of it is white. You got the marble and you got the walkway.
I would like to see them get some input on the maintenance from the Great Barrington DPW, who are going to maintain this. I would like to get their input.
So that we can give them something to get started with. I think we should really focus on, again, the bench, the stairs, and the sculpture there. And then come back with the lighting and the other surfaces, because I think conceptually they have a plan, but it needs to be fine-tuned. But we certainly would like to give them something to get going with the town and start with their fundraising. I think it's a project that's long overdue. I think that the statue is amazing, and I like the concept of the bench.
I'd like to say I like it too, and can you hear me? I'm not muted, right? Okay. In the 90s, I taught at Bryant School, and Bryant School is where Jane Iredale is now, between Bridge Street and Church Street. And one lunchtime, I was looking out the window at the kids at lunch recess, and I saw this car come shooting down Church Street and stop by a street sign. And everybody jumped out of the car, and they're taking pictures of each other by the street sign. And I thought, what's that about? So after school, I walked down, and it's where the Du Bois birth site is, the sign. And that was 30 years ago. So I think it's time.
I would like to propose issuing a conditional certificate of appropriateness for the bench, the sculpture, and the plaza being default grass at this time.
I wouldn't second that. I would second it without the grass, without calling attention to the plaza.
Well, the plaza is grass right now. That's the three things we have to address, Abby. So you're not.
I know.
You're not
Okay.
seconding the motion.
No.
Okay. Because Fred made a motion, and I'm being fussy. That for the sculpture, the bench, and the plaza being grass. Right. That's the motion for conditional approval. That's what would be seconded.
All right, I'm going to second that.
Okay. And let me make a note. Marilyn second. Okay. Is there any comment on that, Abby?
Well, I certainly am not in favor of the grass, and they have to come back to us, right?
I'm guessing this is only conditional. I mean, there would have to be final drawings and things like that. Also,
Well, I don't want
Fred's
them
comment
to
is,
think.
Fred's comment was that the DPW should comment on the surface there too, as well as the
That's-
town commenting on the steps and the lighting. I would
Right,
think
so
there's
a
three
lot of
things that
comments
they,
due. We have to hear from a lot of different people.
yeah, I mean, it's just, we've taken it a step tonight, I think, moved it along. So
Well,
we
why
have,
can't we say grass or some other form of what's the word?
would you like to make another amendment to the motion?
I will
Yeah, I
amend my
would.
motion.
Okay,
As Abby suggests, the motion is for the bench, the sculpture, and the plaza of grass or some other surface, including a hard surface.
Right, I second that.
To and with the understanding that the final plaza has to come back to us for approval.
okay.
Can we include that in there, that the final plaza material has to come back to us for approval?
Yes. Well, all of it has to come back because it's conditional, right, Fred?
Yes.
It would be come back with confirmation of their
If
actually
you come
doing.
back and say, only thing we can afford is grass, I don't think we can hold them to a hard surface.
Okay, right. But we have a motion to amend the plaza to be grass or a suitable hard surface. Correct?
I second that. Second.
Yeah, and Abby seconded it. Fred
I-
made the amendment. Abby seconded
Carolyn
it.
did too.
Yeah, I just have one more addition perhaps. I don't know if it's the right time to add it or at the end, that we just list the items that we're looking for them to come back on. One is the stairs, the second is a plaza surface, the third is the lighting, both on the bench and on the handrails, and the landscaping, the shrubbery, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to, Jim, I've heard you, but I need to ignore it for a second. Okay. I'm trying to do a procedure here. I have an amendment, a motion for the plaza, which is amendment to Fred's thing. I need a roll call vote on approving that amendment. All right. Which is just the plaza will be grass or a suitable hard surface. Marilyn.
Aye.
Okay. Abby.
Aye.
Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Don. Aye. Okay. So now we can go back to the motion, which was a conditional approval of the sculpture, the bench, and the plaza, which Fred had made before. And I think Marilyn seconded that. Yes. So that's the motion. That motion is up for vote right now. Marilyn.
Aye.
Abby.
Aye.
Fred.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Chair. Aye. Okay, so we have it approved to that point. Now we can go to Jim's note that, I mean, I guess, there's a couple of things. Okay. What Jim was starting a list on, as far as we still need final drawings or documents of the benches and showing how they're going to be built and also samples of the materials. Including the concrete that would be exposed, as well as the limestone, and the final details showing the construction and also the lighting that's being installed on those items. and what's going to have to happen in the future is another application by the town about any of the steps and stair repairs, handrail issues, and lighting. Is that most of your items, Jim?
And the landscaping issues there with the,
Okay. And the landscaping is plaza issue, correct?
correct.
One group.
Minor, but it's part of the plaza, correct.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm just trying to get into, so I can confirm that. Somebody's going to make me a motion, I bet, that the conditional approval of this application will be subject to final documentation of the benches, their details in their lighting, a final documentation of the plaza material, and also, I think it's a minor point. I don't think it's anything that's going to be a big issue, but it would be the actual final sculpture too. We would get documentation of that.
And
At
the
the same
landscaping. And the landscaping.
No, that's coming. That would be documentation we need for what we've approved at this
Sorry.
application. And then the next thing would be the committee will coordinate with the town, the steps, the handrails, the walkway lighting, and the landscaping plaza issues.
Correct.
Does anybody want to make a motion to that, or do you think, I'll just show this list in our meeting notes?
So moved.
Thank you, Abby. But somebody needs to second it.
I'll second it.
Jim, okay. Roll call. Marilyn,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Okay. I think that concludes the business on it. Okay. Anybody has any other issues?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I just want to know, are you going to issue us some kind of document that will say all of this? How do we proceed?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a combination of meeting notes and a conditional approval. I'm not sure if it's a conditional approval of it. It'd be some
No, I
sort of
understand that. Is that a piece of paper that you're going to give us?
Yeah,
or-
it'll take a week or so, but I'll get up a paper basically to this.
Okay, great.
And you only have to hope that he doesn't use his disappearing ink.
And I want to say thank you, despite all our comments, thank you very much for all your dedication and for all of the committee members and for all of the work. I think, you come up with something really kind of creative and very innovative that'll be a real asset.
I'm glad you see it that way, and we're wanting to be congenial and work, with the library. And when you talk about what we gave you 2 proposals for the plaza because we haven't quite, we have the same concerns your committee has, and we wanted to think on it. So we're happy to come. We haven't made a decision, and it was good to get your input on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Great, interesting
Bye.
comments. So,
Have a
Bye.
great rest of meeting.
Bye.
thank you. Take care.
You want to go on to the next item, old business. Still the new window graphics at 271 Main Street. The applicants, the building manager just never gets back with any of the information that Larkin Sign is telling them that we need and things like that. That's just down there for reference. New business is an update on many things. One is the town hall bandstand dedication is proceeding. Abby was just last night at the Parks and Rec Committee, and is coming up with July 2nd is the date, Abby? Possibly. You're muted.
Definitely July 2nd.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Next item is Russell House. Russell House has come up with, you all saw the drawings that they've done showing the ultimate Widow's Walk railings that they're doing on the building. Those are going to be a synthetic material that they're going to be producing there. They've put through some new window manufacturer. There's a lot of lead times on there. It's huge. It's like I think it's 67 weeks for the window that they originally proposed. And they've come up with one, a fiberglass unit that they can get, I think, in 20 weeks. That they're proposing for the manufacturer of that. I'm assuming we have no problems with that.
No, I think it's
Okay. And there is an open house that I mentioned a while ago. It's happening in June probably, where the Oprah Network, I think, is doing it.
Don, just to confirm, the profile remains the same for the windows?
It is. It's black, and it's it's historical. It's not. It is a fairly decent proposed profile. It's not anything major, but it will be black. The sash will be black, and the grills will be black.
But the dimension basically is relatively.
It is. Yeah, it's a minute. It's like, I think the grill is like an eighth of an inch wider on the outside. It was minimal change to it. And then I didn't know it till I heard it today that the big windows on the front of that building, the tall like walkout windows, door height windows, those are going to be refitted and have storms put on them. Next item is Cyril's Castle. They're proposing to do repairs to the concrete walls down by the fire station, which are in bad need of repair. But there's something coming through of like a synthetic mortar or grout that they would fill things in with to preserve what's there. And I'm getting that through shortly. I just got contacted about it a day or two ago. But that's going to be a repair. We're not going to have public hearings on that or anything else. Just because it's not something that needs a building permit. I'm getting confirmation that it's not going to be a glaring difference in color to what's there and make the patches look worse. And when the new rotary is in there, it's going to become very noticeable, that wall. You're going to notice the wall going around there if you go around the rotary. And I'll say that the new owner, this is his next project he wants to do. He wants to make it, he thinks it looks rather shabby and wants to get that back in a more presentable order. Everyone has seen, if you've been by the manse at the First Congregational Church, their staging is up. They have a building permit, and the CPC signage is out in front of it. And they theoretically, in a while, will be coming back to us with drawings of the other two sides of the manse. That would be the southerly side and the easterly side, as well as whatever repairs they're going to be doing, structural needs to the balcony that's deflecting, okay, on the south side. which involves will need some structural repair to it. And they're doing that now as part of, their proposal is to do all the work with the current contractor or immediately. Once this starts, it's going to keep going. But the drawings are getting prepared for bids right now, and that will be coming before us for a public hearing in the near future. I'm expecting it to be weeks, but not much longer than that. So in a couple of months, we should have that before us. And that's my agenda. Anybody else have any items?
I was wondering if we know anything about the park that we talked about, something going around the Winged Victory. Remember we talked about something maybe on the side of the town hall or anything?
Part of that is waiting on Foresight. Foresight was hired to do a whole town revamping of the site and driveways.
Mhm.
And they would get back to us with that. So that's waiting for that limbo. Part of that was maybe the driveway from the corner of Main Street may be removed. And that was sort of coming out too. So that would affect where we put the monuments or anything like that. And also they were talking about regrading at the back of Town Hall so that as the driveway drops down there terribly, it would be ground down. Also, you'd be able to get a level access across there. For right now, it's be a ramp if it was handicapped accessible and stuff. So I think that's being worked on. It's been in process. I did communicate with Chris Remble about he would be probably the one following up with Foresight about that site plan at Town Hall. And then it probably wouldn't be the new DPW head who would be involved with it because he's going to have enough work on his plate. Okay, running the whole system, but Chris will be in contact with that. And I did remind him that we should have been gotten back to on what's happening there for some input, I would think.
Okay.
And the other thing that's floating around out there is bathrooms too, toilet rooms being built in a freestanding building out in back of Town Hall.
Oh, not down at Memorial Field anymore?
No.
Weren't they talking about that one? Okay.
Yeah, but they wouldn't pay for it. The developer wouldn't pay for it.
Oh, right.
Okay. But there is theoretically a plan to do toilet rooms at a freestanding building in Town Hall too, which may be part of that plan too. I'm not privy to any information about what's actually on the drawing boards.
Thanks.
I just had a quick comment regarding the Harrises and the building next to Town Hall. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to take a look, but they redid the front porch there. They did an extraordinary job, absolutely extraordinary. The handrails, the fretwork below where the lattice work was, it's extraordinary. You get a chance, just walk up to it and you'll see the craftsmanship there. And we're lucky to have people like that in town that are so keenly aware of the historical significance of town and really did a great job.
I'd also add that the painting was excellent too. The colors that they did on that. The red on the windows really pops now quite nicely.
Yeah.
Any other items?
Citizens speak.
None?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Nothing else? Take a motion to adjourn. Abby has to turn on the thing for me to know that that's
Lip
official.
reading done.
Her lips.
So moved.
To adjourn, unless there's any objection, right? That's what you wanted, right, Abby?
Yeah, before my dog barks again.
Okay, and I get a second on it and we're done. Who's on it?
Second.
Okay, Marilyn, thank you. Good night,
How about
everyone.
an all
Thanks for a
those
good
in-
meeting.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Night.